Welcome friends to another r/ProRevenge video. If you want to join me in getting revenge against all the people who refuse to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, then honestly I have a great deal of respect for you. That said, our first story of the day is by an anonymous poster. My principal tried to get me fired, so I got her fired from the district. I was in my mid-20s, fresh out of grad school and ready to start my teaching career. I got a job at a Title I elementary school near my home teaching art, and I was super excited that I could walk to work. However, I was so far into La La Land that I didn't notice any of the warning signs. Warning sign number 1, it was a week before school started and I'd called and emailed the school office staff and my principal to ask about getting my keys and badge so I can start seeing what I need to do to get ready for the school year. No response and no answer from either. So I called the district office and asked when and where I could pick up my keys and badge. 2 days before school starts, I get an email from my admin saying I should have been more patient and not have contacted the main office about my keys and badge. I finally got everything and was able to get into my room and was horrified with how much I had to get done. Apparently they had used my room as storage, so it was loaded with tables and desks stacked on top of each other, 8 filing cabinets, and well over 100 chairs stacked all around the room. I managed to clean out the space with help from my awesome custodian. Shout out to all custodians who are the secret backbones in helping teachers get ready for the school year. Hurdle number 1 finished. Warning sign number 2, it's now the day of classes starting, and I haven't been informed of what the schedules are, as in which days I see certain classes and when. So I email my principal again, asking what the schedule looks like and if there's a digital document that I can print out. I get an email back a few minutes later telling me to stop pressuring and bullying her. I replied, sorry if I was making her feel that way, but it would be nice to know what classes I had and when. This leads to warning sign number 3. It's 8:10 a.m., not 10 minutes after school started, and I finally get my schedule, only to find out that I have 2 classes at the same time. Note, my school isn't huge, but we still had 14 classes serving kinder to 6th grades. So I was having at least 46 kids in one classroom by myself. Moreover, I had 7 45-minute periods a day and saw every class every day of the week. With only a 30-minute lunch, my lunch was when I was on lunch duty. I asked my principal if there was any way we could adjust the schedule so I had time to plan and get the classroom ready for the next class and wouldn't lose instruction time getting things ready as the new class was coming in. I got yelled at by her with a class waiting outside saying, "It's your first year teaching and you don't know what you need and you need to just deal with it." Well, I decided not to just deal with it, and I read the teacher's contract for the district. Come to find out, we had a section about classroom size. It stipulated that if you had a class over 30 students, you get to have an educational assistant to help you with the class. I brought this up with my principal after a month and a half of struggling and was, you guessed it, denied, and told there was no money in the budget, and I would have to make do without it or quit. Mind you, I am stubborn and determined to make things work with what little I have, but things were rough. In order to prep and plan everything for the next day, make meaningful grades, keep up with referrals, and keep in contact with families, I was having to be at school from 6 a.m. when the morning custodian arrived till 9 p.m. when the night janitor was leaving on weekdays, and then also use my weekend time to continue to plan and grade. When it came time for my first teacher evaluation, I was dreading it. However, I got all satisfactory marks from my principal. I was shocked. Little did I know this was a plan she had all along. A few more weeks go past and I've had it. I talk with our union about the double classes and say it's not sustainable and a classroom my size can't safely fit more than 30 students, let alone 46 students, and they said they would handle it, and other few weeks go by and nothing. It's now the week of Thanksgiving and conferences are over and I get to not worry about anything for 2 days. So I decided to go to a potluck dinner with some old friends of mine. So here's the best part, and maybe the part that saved my career and even maybe my sanity. I was talking with one of an old acquaintance and his new husband about what teaching job I landed and how the school year was going. I let it slip that even though my students were amazing and had such creative minds, it's frustrating to me that I don't have the time to give to them that they deserve. And with 2 classes at once, it's hard to get around to everyone in the class in just 45 minutes. I noticed the husband raise his eyebrow and ask me what school I worked at, so I told him. what harm could it do? Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, little did I know I was talking with my principal's supervisor. I found out the next Monday when my admin stormed into my room at 8:05 a.m. to scream and yell at me, threatening to fire me and make sure I never work in education again. I was shocked and confused at the same time. However, later that week, at our staff meeting, we talk about a change in the schedule and how only one class would be in my class at a time for an hour now, and I would only see them twice a week instead of all 5 days. It was magical. The kids were happier, I was calmed, and was able to help each individual student if they needed it, and was able to plan enough throughout the day so I could leave at 4 p.m. Sad to say, my happiness didn't last forever. I noticed my principal stalking my room and coming in nonstop to observe me. It was awkward. I also had a few of my very extroverted students come in quiet and unable to focus on work. But when I asked them if everything was okay, they would burst into tears and say, "I don't want you to go." Being confused, my response was always, "Oh, student name, I have absolutely no intentions of going anywhere. You're all the best students a teacher could ever ask for," which would cheer them up for a while, but then they'd come in next week upset again. It all clicked when the day before we left for Christmas break, my principal came into my room with one of her minions, who was our building union representative, to tell me I was being put on a teacher support plan. This plan was to evaluate whether or not my contract with the district would be up for renewal at the end of the school year. I was shocked, and my union rep just snickered and walked away giggling with our admin. I felt sick and abused, unable to feel any emotion. It wasn't until I got home and read what this plan detailed was I seeing red. I had hit my breaking point. This is when I started to formulate a plan of revenge. Some things to note: our principal liked to come into school whenever they felt like. She would be there anywhere from 7:45 a.m., our actual contract hours, to as late as 9:30 a.m. She once showed up at noon without telling anyone. I also knew that she had kept renewing a certain after-school care contractor that wasn't free to families, but they got money from the district to offer it for free. I also knew that this person running an after-school care was dating and living with our principal. So during winter break, my acquaintance and his husband called and asked if I was free to get drinks over the holidays. I love a good cocktail and I needed some hard liquor. When we met up, I wanted to talk about anything other than school stuff. I just wanted to keep my mind off of school drama. But the new husband brought up if things were better after he talked about the double classes. That's when I found out that he was her boss. I asked, "What do you mean you talked to my principal? How do you know her?" The new husband says, "Oh, didn't you know? I'm the supervising administrator for that cohort of schools." My jaw dropped, and I started to hyperventilate. The husband was startled and asked what was wrong, so I told him. I told him everything. How she yelled and threatened to get me fired, how she put me on this support plan, and how she just kept observing my class without notifying me. His face went from a concerned look to surprised Pikachu face to red with anger. He told me I really always had a bad vibe from her and always wondered why there was always so many new teachers at that school every year. What else can you tell me about what's going on? I hesitated to tell him everything, but my acquaintance told me not to worry, he's seen this look before, and that they were on my side. So I told him everything I knew. They both just sat there awestruck, unable to speak about what they were hearing. Anyway, after the break's over, I'm dreading coming back into my class. But I don't want to miss seeing my students, so I push on. I'm walking in the hall to my mailbox, and I see a few of my students that had cried and told me they didn't want me to leave. They ran up and gave me the biggest, longest hug ever, saying, "You're here, you're here." I said, "Of course I'm here. I wouldn't leave the best students ever. Now would I?" The student said, "But principal said you were going to leave us because you didn't want to be here, and we should give you trouble before you left." Me, trying to hold my rage, said, "Oh, maybe she was talking about how I was leaving to visit family over the break? No need to worry, I'm still here." Yes, y'all, this wretched woman tried to purposely make kids misbehave in my class to write me up for not having good rapport with my students. I was beyond livid. So next time I have class with that student, I asked them if they could make a comic book of the conversation they had with my principal when she told them I was leaving, and make an ending he wanted. Phase 1 started. Phase 2, I contacted my boss's boss and told him per my contract, I wanted another admin to accompany my principal's teacher support observations, and I wanted it to be him. He said absolutely, but not to tell my principal just yet. The first day of my observation comes, and she walks in without a notebook or anything to take any sort of notes, looking proud of herself like she's about to get away with firing me. She's shocked and confused when her boss walks in with a laptop and sits next to her and starts to write notes about how I'm doing. She stumbles around and comes to ask me for a notepad to take notes, and I tell her, I don't have an extra notepad, but I do have some poster paper. We were making movie posters of a movie we would star in to go with our comic books, and that I hope you can be better prepared next observation as to not disrupt my class and take time away from their institutional time. Her boss just smirked. Phase 3, I was now calling my new best friend, her boss's boss, whenever she was late getting to school, and he would do a random stop by if he was close. So he was able to document that she was not showing up to work on time and not submitting the paperwork to have it taken out of her leave minutes. Overall, he got her at least 2 times a week for a solid month. I think he even asked someone from HR to come to our school to see for herself at 9 a.m., and she still wasn't even there. Now time for phase 4, which was my favorite one, getting the parents on board. I first started talking to parents that seemed to always be late picking up their students. I would chat about it, and they would say it was hard to get there on time and they often had to leave early. And when I told them about our aftercare, they would tell me that it cost too much for them. However, I would inform them that since we're a Title I school, that after-school care was free and paid for by the district, and gave her a nifty flyer I made up with the website to fill out the forms and which ones to fill out. This made word spread around to parents paying the contractors directly that it was supposed to be free. And boy, was that a fun PTA meeting to go to. I also made sure the principal knew it was me that informed the parents about the free after-school care program. After this, there were countless investigations at our school, with head administration from the central office stopping by our school, auditors, and our union finally got involved and tried to play the heroes/victims of this incident. The outcome: the second half of the year was very chill. My new best friend made sure that my teacher support plan was taken off my teaching record, and my principal was not allowed to do my second term evaluations, nor was she allowed to do any informal observations. The after-school care contractor was fired and taken over by one recommended by the district, and my students were making amazing strides in their posters and comics. At the end of the year, when we're getting our assignments, jobs, for next year, my principal made one last attempt to get me to leave and told me our budget doesn't have the funds for an art teacher next year and that I might want to see employment elsewhere. I laughed in her face and said, "Nice try. My position's paid for by a state bond and isn't affected by your budget from the district. If there isn't anything else, I'll be leaving now," and walked out. I could hear her slam her desk and swear up a storm as I closed the door. At the end of the year, I had my one student share his comic book about how the principal told him to give me trouble in class at our school's talent show, leaving the already pissed off parents more pissed that an adult would tell a child to act in such a way. I even think she had a shoe thrown at her when she ran on stage to stop him from finishing his comic. To the surprise of no one, the last day of school, she announced on the intercoms after students had left that she would be resigning from our school to move to a different position where she was needed, and that she would miss almost all of us. I came to find out after stalking her on LinkedIn 2 years later that she had to get a job out of the district an hour drive away to get another admin job, but only stayed for a year, and then had to step down to teaching English at a different school in another district the next year. And for those of you wondering how my student's comic book ended, well, the art hero rallied the students against the anger principal to make her see the errors of her ways. But the angry principal could not become happy, so she left, and the power of happiness filled the school once again. If this story is true, I mean, it's great that OP did this just to get somebody out of that job who just wasn't doing their duties at all. I'm kind of curious, in your guys' younger years of education, whether it was elementary school or primary school, did you particularly enjoy your art classes with your art teachers if you had them? Let me know about your guys' experiences in the comments down below. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. If you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, it would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel, and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.